So the title of the video is exactly what I'm going to be. I can't sum it up any other way. Don't let people data shame you. Don't let them data shame you. What the hell is data shaming? What is it, man? It's, you know what it is. If you've ever been out, if you're like me and you like, you like screwing around with these things, right? You like doing all this crap. You like messing around with, you like messing around with the laptop and data and all that good stuff. You're always looking at stuff. You get the comments. You get the people who you can't go anywhere with the laptop. Every time I see the track, you got the laptop out. Or you're data logging, or you're going to Mexico and you got this thing out there. You're doing your thing here, and people actually trash that. It's wild to me that people look at that as some kind of inferiority, or look at a streetcar. You gotta log every time you go out. You gotta change something every time. No, it's not the case. It's not that I have to. Look, if you've got a very mild build, right? You've got a raise your hand if you put the cam in the car strictly because you wanted to have thump. All right, you don't actually beat the car up, or it's a very mild setup, and you use it to go to and from your baby mama's house and fight about child support. Then chances are you're never pushing the car hard enough that you're really going to have a lot of issues with the car. And in which case, honestly, yeah, you don't have to run around with a laptop or a data logger and that kind of stuff. And there's just nothing really happening that you're worried about having to catch. If you are at the track, or you're going to go run the car, you're going to go beat up the car, and the car, it makes a little more power. Maybe the setup's a little bit, tougher on parts and things like that. Then it's a pretty good idea to have data accessible. One of the nice things about this particular setup that I have in the car, about Pro EFI in particular, is the fact that you got this little, I call it the TV VCR combo package here. Just come a little VCR, little VHS somewhere in here. I talk crap about it, jokingly, but it's actually a very useful little tool here. It's a data logger, data displayer rather, so you can flip through pages and see stuff. But it's got a little port back here. You can't see it, but there's a little port back here. It's a USB stick port, and you shove a USB in there, and this thing's constantly logging. It's constantly logging. Whether you're going to the gas station, you're going to, you're running down the track, whatever the case is, it's always logging. And it's a cool thing to have there, because when you do push the cars hard, and you have a car that, like I said, if it's a little more aggressive a setup, inevitably the more power you make, the harder you are on parts, the more likely you're going to run into a situation where something's going to happen. You're going to want to have something logging back there that's going to catch it when it happens. How many times haven't you been out there and it happens? Something happened. The car laid over. It was breaking up on me. It was whatever. And okay, well, what's it doing now? Oh, it drives great now. There's no lights on. Everything's fine now. But every time I try to run such and such, the car laid over on me. The car broke up on me. The car was making weird noises and lights on the dash and all kinds of stuff. And then you go and check it after the fact. It's like, well, you can't, I don't know. I don't see anything. There's nothing there. That's just not a good place to be. You want to know what's going on. You want to know when it's happening, all that good stuff. So for that reason, yeah, you usually see, if you see me at the track, you're going to see a laptop. All right, you're going to see me pulling the logs and seeing what the heck happened, what's going on. Even when nothing bad happens, you want to look at it, because it's a good way to stave off bigger problems. And a lot of times, if you get comfortable and familiar with looking at these things, you can see issues before they happen. You can see runaway trims. You see funny little bits of data here that just don't look right. I'm going to give you an example, actually. There's one thing that just happened to me. Oh, God, this was probably 2 months ago. A little less than 2 months ago. It was February. It's the very last Quick 30 event put on at Houston Raceway. And I was there, as I usually am. Quick 30 events, I really hope Amar Sood gets back to putting these things on, even though Baytown, the track went away. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get that event to come back and at some other place, Ennis, whatever the case is. Great event, great show put on there by Amar. So that's enough of a side note there. But I was there, and I went out there with intention of running a particular number. The car didn't do that. What actually happened was I went out there and made one hit. I had an issue with it. Came back, made a little change here. Because I made the cardinal sin of making big changes right before I went to this event, which you never want to do that. So I went back to the last known good deal that I had in there. Make a hit, car was great. Got out of the hole, was fantastic. The 1-2 car was really good. The 3-4, I felt something strange. I felt like the car kind of nosed over and then came right back, and it was great. Oh, okay, well, whatever. Maybe belt slip, who knows what it is, right? Then the 3-4 comes along, and man, I'm looking for the parachute, right? I'm looking for the parachute. I'm looking for the anchor. This thing just absolutely laid over, fell off hard, and it just had no power. And I wasn't really sure what had happened, and I don't know if it was in that run or it was in the next one. I actually had a check engine light come on and everything, so I was getting warnings. I was getting, the car's talking to you, right? It's telling you, hey, something ain't right here. I didn't. It was a short turn from that pass to the next one, so I glanced at the data. I didn't see anything leaping out at me just yet, so I thought it was belt slip. I decided to let everything cool off a little bit. We give it one last shot, and I went out there, one more pass, made a good pass. Didn't feel quite as bad, but the 3-4 definitely, once again, the car just laid over really, really hard, and it just didn't feel right. And yeah, I mean, if nothing else, if I didn't have old trusty here, right? If I didn't have this thing logging here, I would have been chasing my tail. I would have been going crazy, swapping belts and tensioners and pulleys and just doing all kinds of crazy stuff, because I was convinced in my head this was belt slip. It had to be belt slip. It just felt just like it. It felt like it just nosed over. It didn't feel like anything other than the car just lost a bunch of power, and all of a sudden it would kind of come back on me. I figured, yeah, it's got to be the belt slipping and then grabbing. And well, I'm going to show you what it actually was, and I'm going to show you what the benefit of having data available at your fingertips, how important it is, and why you've got to, I'm not telling you got to go out there and have, full on research and development crew following you around everywhere you go, every time you run to get ice cream. But it's good to have if you've got HP tuners. I think has that ability on the little, I don't know how the MVPI 2s work. I'm old school. I had the old MVPI 1, and you had the little button thing there. You can press it and log, and log a certain set of PIDs, a preset of PIDs that you had to go in there and set up. So you can do that. That's great. If you have something a little more aftermarket, Fuel Tech, Holley, Motec, whatever the hell you have, they usually have a means of data logging themselves, either through the unit or through an external, like a USB. Use them. If you're going to go racing, beat up the car, make sure you've got those things in there. Make sure you've got them going, and make sure you're using them. It will save you tons of headaches. Do not let people shame you out of having those things in the car or out of using them, because chances are those are the same guys who, when this happens, send their car to a shop and then bitch and moan when the shop owner calls them and says, hey man, everything looks good, it looks fine, I think you're full of it, you're wasting my time. And of course you're getting into a fight over the phone with the guy because you're swearing up and down something happened, but everything looks good. And this is actually would have been one of those cases. If I sent this to somebody and there really was no other physical sign of there being a problem, it was only the data that helped me see, I see. Ooh. I'm going to show you exactly what that was. Stay tuned. Okay, so check this out. All right. So like I told you, I made those 2 passes, and in each pass, the car kind of did the same thing. It felt great out of the hole. Actually, I was launching a little bit harder than I had in the past, so I was cutting better 60 foot. The car came out real strong, and everything felt great out of the hole. I ripped through it in first, grabbed second, everything felt pretty good, grabbed third, everything's fine, yada, yada, yada. Everything was pretty cool until I got into third right here. I threw third, and the car just felt, it felt kind of like it wasn't there, and all of a sudden it hit me, and the car's rolling through, everything's fine. Grabbed fourth, and the thing just felt like it was just not there at all. Felt like I said, like I dropped an anchor or something like that. It felt way down on power. So I come back to the pits. I'm looking through the logs. I'm looking at the number one thing I'm looking at because in my head I'm already convinced it's a boost issue, right? And I said, oh, it's got to be a belt slip. Well, right here I'm highlighting for you the map value, right? See the guy right there? It's a map value. And if you notice in the map value, when you can I click on this guy? Will it stay highlighted? Let's see. Yeah. Well, no. Anyways, there you go. Here's your map, that pink line right there. So you see it, the upward trend. It builds up in first. Come over here in second gear, pulls up in second. Let me see if I can turn some of this stuff off. Maybe declutter it for you just a little bit. What's this guy here? Intake temp. Yeah, we can get that out of there. So we run through the gears, and the car makes, boost here in first. It's up to 200, just under 250 kPa. It's about 22 or so pounds of boost. Second gear, it makes boost all the way up here. Third gear, you notice that kind of skips. It's low right here, right? I threw third, but in this area right here, right out of the gate, it's only running about 195 kPa, 196 kPa. Then all of a sudden, wham, comes back. All right, that's got to be belt slip. I must be dealing with belt slip. Now, that's my initial reaction. Hindsight, looking at it after you kind of take a step back and think big picture here, you know that that's not typically how belt slip happens on a blower car. Normally, it's at the top of the gear, right? When you're putting down the most amount of torsional force on that belt up here in high RPM area, right? That's normally where the belt will begin to slip on you. Instead, I'm seeing it way back here, and then kind of comes right back, gives you the boost, and up you go through fourth gear. I made a good amount of boost here, 23 pounds. I grabbed fourth, and again, I've got nothing. Let me highlight it right here for you. There it is. I've got nothing. I've got what was that? 190, 89, 190. So I mean, that's like 13 pounds of boost or something like that. So it's got no boost whatsoever in fourth, and the car just feels like it's laid over. So initial impression says, I've got to be belt slipping, even though, like I said, you look back at it now and you realize that's not really the case. But this is why the data is so important. I didn't have a long time to look at this. I'm letting the car cool off. We're getting towards the latter part of the day, and I don't want the car to sit for too long before I get out there and go one more time before they shut the track down on me. So I only let it sit for a little while. I had to get out there. I figured, you know what, let's just send it one more time, and let's just see what happens. If it's slipping, it's slipping. I'm not going to change anyway. I don't have time to swap belts and pulleys and crap. So I go out there one last time. It's my last pass. Get up the car up on the two-step right here. Let out the clutch. Car's kind of, you see this little wheel spin right here. Skidded a little bit on me. I think it was only 142 or 143. 60 foot on this one, but collect the wheel speed, car gets up, is rolling out, boost, here it is, boost comes up, and it's, you can see it over here, see right there, map. So following along, first gear gives me, 250 kPa, okay, that's good. It grabs second gear, and there's a little bit of a delay, but it comes up. I didn't even feel this in the car. I mean, it happens so quickly that you don't even notice it. Car's building up. Second gear is coming along. Yeah, 250 kPa. All right, it's good. Grab third, and there's it didn't feel quite as bad as it did the previous time, but I did feel a little bit of a hesitation there. And same thing right here in this pocket, this shift. You'll notice that if you look at our boost value, it falls, and then it's a little slow to come up, and then it finally comes up, and it's giving me boost in thirds, going along, trucking along, everything's good, 250 kPa, grab fourth, and nada, 190. It's trash. Oh, that's garbage. All the way through, that's garbage. I'm on it wide open, and it's just not giving me anything. So this is what I had. This is what I was dealing with, and you're gonna notice this down here, by the way. I had just had a blowout with one of the O2, so one of them is not reading accurately. If you happen to be looking at this instead of paying attention to me, then yeah, this is not accurate. Don't worry about these values down here. But yeah, this is where data becomes so important, because I would have chased my tail. I would have gone through belts and tensioners and pulleys and cursed the gods, and I would have been wrong the whole time. When I finally had an opportunity to sit back and really reflect on the information. I started doing a little bit of poking around. What I noticed was, I'll show you here, I noticed what did not leap out at me at first was this. So this is the same run. This is the last run of the day. I actually ran an 898 that pass, amazingly. 898 pass, starting off right here. So this is, you see the red line ascending, that's our RPM, right? So this is kind of getting out of the hole versus this right here, this section right here is getting up on the two-step, bop, 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 let out the clutch, RPM dips a little bit, had a little bit of wheel spin right there as it came out of the hole, and then here we go, we start climbing. First gear, grab it, second gear, grabbing third gear, and so on and so forth. Here's the really, really interesting part. It's this right here. See that curve? This curve that I'm highlighting for you now is TPS. This is actual TPS values, not APP. This is not my foot. This is the actual throttle body position, the throttle position sensor on the side of the actual throttle body. So this is telling you what the actual opening is at any given time. Now the interesting part is this. So I can highlight it for you here. This is APP. This is my foot. So you can see the rise in RPM at the shift point. Of course, there's a dip right there. See that dip I'm highlighting right there? That is, what is this guy here? So this is duty cycle. I'm going to turn this off for a second to clarify this for you. But this right here is APP versus TPS. Now, let me explain something to you really quick. Your foot is faster than the mechanical throttle body. The only way it would be as fast is if you had a cable throttle body. But with an electronic throttle body, it's never going to be quite as fast. I poured back into logs and logs, older logs, when I have brand new throttle bodies on there. There's always a difference in APP versus TPS. Or in other words, your foot right here is always a little bit faster than the reaction from the actual throttle body. That's normal. What's not normal, and I'll show you here in a second, is this. This is what tipped me off that I have a actual problem. And it's this part right here. Let's get past it. So this is third. I'm ringing out third gear here, right? Running it out, running it out, running it out, running it out all the way. Here's my foot going in the fourth. Off, back on. And remember how I told you fourth gear was absolutely dead? Well, this is why. Here's your throttle body right there. So in fourth gear, I was seeing, here's the value right here. These two right here, TPS 1 and 2. Fourth gear, I only saw 58% throttle. So I just had barely over halfway opening of the throttle. This was the former throttle body on there, the Nick Williams 112, a Kong 112, whatever it is Nick Williams makes them. This is what was happening to me. This is how I realized what my actual problem was all along, was the throttle body was faulting on me. So, well, how do you know this? How do you know it wasn't a computer issue, a command issue, a traction control gone wild or something like that? Well, this guy right here, ETC request final and ETC duty cycle. Okay, maximum duty cycle settings in the software are 80%. In other words, when the car is commanding 100% throttle, it will command as high as 80% duty cycle to get the throttle to open all the way. And in most cases, it's more than enough. I think 52 or 53% duty cycle was enough to go wide open, or to go 100%. And prior to this testing right here, prior to this, when looking at previous data. So it only needed about 50-ish%. Here's 80% maxed out, and I'm still only seeing 58% throttle opening. The other way you know this is this guy right here, ETC request final. This is what the computer is actually requesting, which, not coincidentally, coincides with my foot. The only time this would be different is if you're in a traction control situation where your foot might be on it all the way. The car sees wheel spin and it says, no, I know you want to kill yourself, but I'm not going to let you. And the request final will actually be lesser. It'd be 70% or whatever the heck it wants to be. Here this is telling you I am asking for 100%. Duty cycle is pegged out, but I'm only seeing 50% actual throttle opening. So that tells you right there that you have a mechanical issue at the throttle body. It's not the blower, it's not the belt, it's not the pulleys, it's not belt slip, none of the above. you've got here is a classic case of your throttle body's taking a dump on you. What's even worse about this setup is it's not a factory setup, therefore I don't have a check engine light. I don't remember what the PO, whatever the hell it was, top of the head when you guys get. I totally had a flashing check engine light on one of those passes, and it was an ETC correlation code. But it didn't spell out to me that, hey, your throttle is failing. I needed data to be able to see this, and this is where I was able to go in here and finally be able to see this. And like I told you, if I did not have this, it would have made my life a lot more miserable. It would have been a while before I can chase this thing down if I didn't have this thing plugged in. I'll show you the same thing here on the first pass, the 907 pass. Let's go ahead and look at the ETC tab. And grouping makes it a little bit nicer to look at. And here you go. First gear, second gear. You can already see how delayed this curve is right here? See how delayed that curve is? That's a telltale sign you've got an issue. Obviously, I didn't know that prior to having this issue, but looking at it now, this is a giveaway. When it's this prolonged a curve, you can already see that at this spot right here, let's look at third gear. So this is me throwing third gear, right? Second, I ring out second. Bam, I grab third, and I'm going to zero the timer out right in the middle of the shift. And it took the throttle body, because it actually did open up here, right? It took the throttle body right up here, almost a full second, 0.871, almost a full second after I requested, after my foot planted. It took it almost a full second to open up all the way. That's a telltale sign that you've got an issue going on there, and it is a mechanical one at the throttle body, not a belt issue, not a tensioner issue. So you're going to pull your hair out if you've got any left, and you're going to swap out belts, and you're going to curse, the Nordic gods, and pray to Alibaba and do all these things, and throw, belts and tensioners and all kinds of crap at the car, and you're still going to have the same issue. And if you don't have the data to see this, you'll never really get it resolved. And right here, run out third, grab fourth. Here it is. This one was even worse. 54% is the most I can get out of it. Request was 100%. Duty cycle was pegged out. APP, right? 98, 100%. So my foot's all the way down, and the car is just not giving it to you. Wouldn't have known this had I not gone ahead and had this in the car. So long and short of it is, guys, if you got the means to, go ahead and data log the car every time if you have to, especially if you know you're going to go out and beat the car up. Just keep the logger in there if you have it. Keep it recording. It doesn't hurt you any. It's not getting in the way. And there is a bunch of invaluable data that you can record and really help you find headaches and make your life or your tuner's life or your builder's life or however it is that you go about your stuff there. But it's going to make their lives or your life a lot easier finding headaches, finding problems. You'll absolutely thank me a million times over. Just have this stuff in there, because you never know what it is you're going to find. If you've got any other questions about Pro EFI kind of stuff, I'm hardly a pro at it, but I've been tinkering around with it enough to get myself into a reasonable amount of trouble. So if you got any questions about it, by all means, let me know. Hit me up in the comments, and let's see what kind of other kind of madness we can get ourselves into here, what kind of trouble I get myself into. So stay tuned.